When I was at Facebook, we used to convene the senior team, and I was like, I really want to fire the bottom 5 or 10% of the company every year, and we would force stack rank, and we did it for about 3 or 4 years, and then the excuse was it's too big, and there are too many people, and the roles are too diverse, and you can't rank. I actually don't believe that, even to this day. I think it's pretty obvious who the real 1000x kind of employee contributors are. And by the way, they exist in every function. There's 1000x salespeople. There's 1000x, product managers. There's the 1000x people that work in facilities. They exist in every job function. And companies, I don't think, do a good enough job of figuring out who they are. And so instead, what happens is people that are not even 100x or not even a 10x are really more like a 1 or 1.1x can basically hide in all of that noise. And I think that if you could separate HR into 2 things, or there's really 3 things. One is like benefits, which is critical. The second is actually like safety and the ability to whistleblow if there's something really nefarious or bad that's happened. And then the third that's really valuable, I think, is organizational design, right? How do you put people in good jobs, and how do you allow them to have a huge amount of autonomy to run and build a career? But all of this other policing stuff, to me, just seems like it coddles to the lowest 25%. I don't know if and this is my intuition, to the lowest 25% performers of every company.
Of course it does. And just to close this story up and wrap to our next, Antone AGM announced that he is going to take a year, wait for it, to write for Substack. So he is going to get paid $10 million, I would guesstimate, in a settlement by Apple. He's going to get a $500,000 advance.
I'll take the over.
Take the over. If only we can bet on this. I set such a good line.
We can bet on it. We can bet on it.
Yeah, we can bet on it. I'll take the over.
I set the line at 10. Anybody want the under?
You'll take the
Well, go give it a different bet, and I'll
if you got a different line, you could set a different line.
Set a different line.
I think 10's a good line. Because you got to think, like, if they offer him 7 or 8 million.
I mean, it's going to be something like that. I don't know what the number is, but
we'll never know.
I'll make a line. 15.6.
I take the under.
I'll take the under.
Wow, really?
I'll take the under. Yeah, 15's way too much. Way too much.
Now, David's quiet.
I'd say under 15.
Yeah, that's not a good line.
Good thing
11 would have been a better line. 11.5 is a good line. Okay, let me do it. 11.5. What do you take?
Chamath can afford the book against all 3 of us.
Okay, 11.5. Chamath takes the over. 11.5. Friedberg Sachs?
Yeah, I don't know. Under.
Can I just tell you why? If you look at the last 4-year compounding of Apple stock, right? And so if you think about reasonable number of grants as his level of seniority, plus the imputed compounding, plus whatever he would have gotten.
You should be part of his team. Somebody said in this clip, because that's the argument is...
I do think you end up getting to probably 20 million.
Yeah, you got to include the appreciation.
You get a buy it now price at 15 and call it.
And they've also you could make the argument they've rendered him unemployable in the industry. So
and then there's foregone
income from all of his future.
Then it could be 20.
Also mental suffering. What about suffering? He is going to suffer. He's going to need to be on meds. My client is suffering. He's in therapy twice a week. He can't get out of bed. He's not going to be able to be in functional relationships. And he's too scared to leave the house.
He should wait on the Substack because he's going to make so much money on Substack. It's going to mitigate his damages.
Yeah, don't take the Substack deal.
Just wait on the Substack.
I'll give you guys another stat. Do you guys know what Apple's market cap divided by employees is? Apple's market
probably 7 million an employee.
Anyone else?
Wait a second. There's 100,000 employees and it's worth $2 trillion?
Okay, there's 150,000 employees, 2.1 trillion. So it's 14 million an employee. Perfect. So the other way to think about it is if Apple's like going to lose 1 or 2 good employees over this, they'd happily pay up to get the guy to be quiet. So it's worth 1 employee to pay $14 million.
Well, no, I mean, you're not dividing by all the slave labor in China.
And
I'll recalc.
Yeah, well, they actually cost 0. So that was bad. Sorry. It's dark, but it's true. This is the hypocrisy of Apple. They've literally got slave labor in their supply chain. Not that they want it in their supply chain, but those employees.
How do you know that? Let's just go through this because, this is a common narrative. But has anyone actually gotten to the bottom of?
Well, that's why I said reported. I mean, it is known.
Again, I don't like pushing narratives.
Okay.
That
well, I tweeted something I retweeted something that came from I think a pretty valid source. That author from The Atlantic who I think is pretty legit.
Also, I just think, just in terms of his quote, if he had taken the word woman out of the quote, most people in the Bay Area are soft and weak. In a zombie apocalypse, I don't think you're recruiting from the Bay Area. But related to this story, in terms of Chamath's point about, 1000x performers, America is really doing a bad job at math. And Gary Tan, the venture capitalist, retweeted and participated in a tweet thread about immigrants who know that standardized test is probably your best shot at getting somewhere. Your money, social status can't take you. The rules are well standardized. And he tells his story about this. But there was a Persuasion article about us failing math, and that they're going to be in California getting rid of the gifted programs for math because it's unfair to the kids who are not gifted. As a kid who was not gifted, and to the 3 kids on the program who were in gifted programs, or at least 2 of you were, I have no problem with there being a gifted program. But any thoughts on this?
I think it's shameful.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, like we are really doing our level best to just completely fuck our population. Why? I mean, why is this even, how could this even be possible? It's it's kind of like the equivalent. It's the moral equivalent of actually saying, you know what, we're going to eliminate welfare for the bottom 5%. Like, our job as a society is to kind of like find the broadest set of solutions for the most number of people and solve for both extremes. So when you're dealing with education, you both need to understand that there are folks that need some kind of structural support. Look, when I came to Canada, I had ESL, right? English as a second language. You take that so that you can learn the native language of a country. It didn't mean that I was stupid. It just meant that I was behind. If I had dyslexia or something else, I would need some kind of support. One of my children had a speech impediment. We had a speech therapist. This is what you do. But on the other side, if you have a kid who's an incredibly high performer who has the potential to just completely crush, hey, like, you should be able to give that kid a pathway to achieve and give back. So the idea that you would eliminate anything at the extremes is kind of completely uncompassionate and stupid, just totally fucking stupid.
Well, it's in the name of having a more equitable math class.
Again, I hate that word.
Yeah,
Please don't use that word. Please don't use that word. That is the least.
By the way, this goes back to the point I made a few episodes ago that, you can have progress or you can have equality, but it's very difficult to have both. And, if you want to try and make everyone equal and give no one the opportunity to have more or get more than anyone else because of whatever the circumstance may be, whether it's earned or whether it's inbred. No, but this is my point. Like, you limit the ability for everyone to progress as a group because we're now limiting the ability for folks to take calculus.
Equality. Look, I'll use a video game example. Equality means we all get to play Grand Theft Auto. Not that we have somebody who actually plays for us and gets to the same answer and just gives you a ticket that says,
we don't all get the same score on Donkey Kong.
You don't get the same score.
Yeah.
That is what equality means, is that we all get to play and we all get a chance.
Versus equity, which is leveling everyone.
Equity is leveling everybody and saying, here's your result. Right. And by the way, it's the same as this other person's
whatever
result.
The misnomer is. But the notion of leveling everyone where no one can be ahead of anyone else by too far obviously limits, as a group, our ability for the top decile to increment or the top quartile to increment.
I got to think, look, let's again use our friends because instead of ours. But, we know a lot of really smart people who have really, really smart kids. We also know people in general that are in tough circumstances who also probably have really smart kids. Just purely selfishly for me, I want those kids doing the best they can to figure out what the hell they can invent for us in the future. Why would you slow those kids down? It's kind of like saying, like, how about a black athlete? Would it be preposterous to say, you don't have a right to go to the NBA and make money for your family. I'm going to slow you down because there's another white kid that's going to go through 4 years of college. So you're going to have to go through 4 years of college and you're going to have to pay for it.
Well, actually, what I would propose, Chamath, is when I go up to dunk, that the rim automatically lowers 2 feet.
Yeah.
So I can dunk. And then when you go for a layup, we'll just raise it 6 inches. It would be more equitable for me.
That's more equitable. Yeah, it's more equitable.
Yeah, let me add another layer to this. So I agree with you guys that what we should be thinking about is opportunity. We should always be asking what increases opportunity for the most people, and that's how we should measure political programs. And we're not doing that here. We are sort of leveling down, but I would say it's even more nefarious than that. Which is, I think what's happening is that the education establishment is completely failing our kids in our schools. And what they're trying to do is destroy the evidence of that failure.
Wow.
And